Welcome to baseball seasons 1997. Something wild.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
In every baseball city, heroes of the game are remembered. But there's only one legacy honored in every major league ballpark. April 15th, 1997, marked the 50th anniversary of Jackie Robinson's historic breaking of the game's color barrier. And to commemorate the event, Acting Commissioner Bud Selig, alongside President Clinton and Robinson's widow, Rachel, made a landmark announcement.
In honor of Jackie, Major League Baseball is taking the unprecedented step of retiring his uniform number 42, in perpetuity. Number 42 belongs to Jackie Robinson for the ages.
Jackie deserved to be honored. Jackie Robinson coming to baseball was our most powerful and proudest moment. When every ballpark I go and see that number 42, it really makes me feel good. And I was very proud to do that night.
And while that night gave the beginning of the 1997 season a meaningful backdrop, on the diamond, the Atlanta Braves were focused on continuing to make a different kind of history.
The team of the 90s has its world championship.
Atlanta had won the World Series in 1995, the highlight of a run that started in 91 and included 4 NL pennants.
They have been baseball's best team over the last 5 years.
But there was a sense that there could have been more, particularly following the Braves' loss in the 96 series to the Yankees, when they'd squandered a 2-0 lead.
Our team had changed its course and destiny losing in 96. We made some trades.
And late in spring training, the Atlanta front office made a move to shake the team up, trading 95 World Series hero David Justice and All-Star Marquise Grissom to Cleveland for leadoff hitter extraordinaire Kenny Lofton.
Lofton can do an awful lot of things. Not to say our two guys couldn't, because they could.
Right.
And they were very, very big favorites of mine.
I just maintained that if we would won in 96, it would have been hard to change a good thing, and a lot of those changes wouldn't have been made.
Still, the backbone of the Braves' success, pitching, remained. And with Cy Young Award winners John Smoltz, Greg Maddux, and Tom Glavine at the top of the rotation, alongside lefty Denny Nagel, the Braves' search for another World Series title would be comprised of mostly familiar ingredients.
They could all be #1 starters on any given day.
The Braves weren't the only team making changes around their foundation. Out west, the Giants were coming off a last-place finish in 96 and had acquired the veteran pair of Jeff Kent and J.T. Snow to provide support in the lineup for Barry Bonds. The move seemed to pay early dividends, and San Francisco got off to a hot start.
And the Giants have won it by a final of 5-4.
In Florida, nothing about what the Marlins had done in the offseason was low-key. The 5-year-old franchise went on a free agency spending spree, acquiring all-star sluggers Bobby Bonilla and Moises Alou, and righty Alex Fernandez, who joined an already talented roster that included Kevin Brown and Gary Sheffield.
They had spent a lot of money and acquired a lot of players, and we knew that team was put together to knock us off.
The Braves are the champs, and we have to respect that. But we played them well last year without these guys. So I can imagine what we're going to do with these guys.
Expectations were very high. You're talking about putting together a bunch of all-star guys. It's just a matter of if all of us was going to come together and play together as a team.
The man tasked with accomplishing that goal was 2-time Manager of the Year Jim Leland, moving south after 11 years and 3 division titles in Pittsburgh on a quest for a World Series ring.
Everything has to be done within the parameters of the team concept. And if we're not willing to pay that price, and that goes for everybody, we're not going to get the job done.
Leland was really the guy that not only was helpful for a veteran team, but also a winner.
The new look Marlins leapt out of the April gate, winning 8 of their first 9 games.
And the Marlins are in the win column in Chicago.
With their eyes firmly set on reaching the franchise's first postseason.
Hasta la vista, baby. And the Marlins certainly are in the win column.
A few months after they paraded down the Canyon of Heroes, the Yankees went to Florida, intent on repeating in '97.
I think we felt pretty good about '97. We'd get back to the playoffs and have a chance to defend our championship.
Oh, Daddy. Got a little out of yourself.
Yeah, I did.
We went into '97 with a very big question to answer. Our setup man, so to speak, Mariano Rivera, was going to be our closer.
Here is Mariano. This is the job he has wanted. He has it.
Mariano didn't take to it very easily. I remember one game against Oakland in Yankee Stadium.
Straightaway center field, hit well. Bernie's looking up, and this game is tied. Gone.
I said, I don't care how long it takes.
Oh, my goodness.
You're our closer. The quicker you get your mind set in that direction, the better off you're going to be.
Not making excuses for him. He's certainly not done the job.
And the Angels have taken a 6-5 lead here in the 9th inning.
And so began the 1997 season for the Yankees, with a shaky young closer, and also a rotation in flux, with the steady Jimmy Key having departed for Baltimore, and replacement David Wells struggling to find his way.
A 3-run home run, and it's 4-0 here in the second.
It all added up to the reigning champs, losing 10 of their first 15. Meanwhile, another team in the AL East was flying high, and the Baltimore Orioles were led by an Iron Man.
Here comes Cal Ripken, ladies and gentlemen.
Drive to deep left. Cal Ripken has delivered.
Hopes were high for Ripken and company.
You can book this one to the Orioles.
But like their rivals in New York, the Birds were in the midst of a major transition.
Playing second base. Next year they're going to move him to second base.
Not exactly. But Baltimore had acquired Mike Bordick to do the unthinkable, play shortstop for the Orioles.
Bordick, the shortstop. The dive, the throw. Spectacular play.
So after nearly 2,300 games at short, the iconic Ripken was shifting to third.
He took it as a challenge to go over there and become a great third baseman, and he did.
Ripken tested on this play. From his knees, throws across, in time.
With their new look infield sparkling, the O's raced to the best record in the AL in April. Even as baseball's winningest team over the past 2 seasons lurked in the Central.
What a golden season it was for the people in that dugout.
But World Series glory had eluded the Indians. Now in '97, big changes were afoot, as slugger Albert Bell had departed Cleveland in free agency and decided to take his massive power numbers to a familiar place, division rival Chicago.
You can put it on the board! Yes!
The Indians made a series of moves to fill the void, starting with moving an emerging slugger across the diamond.
I was a third baseman, moved to first base back in '97.
Pitch to Tomey, and he drills it deep right, away, back, and gone.
Taking Tomey's place at third was former Giant All-Star Matt Williams.
Williams belts it down the left field line.
We had tremendous balance and good hitters. We had a big offense that year. If you go back and look,
the offense also included new acquisitions, David Justice and Marquise Grissom, as well as mainstays Manny Ramirez.
Man, oh man, I'll tell you, he's fun to watch.
And Sandy Alomar Jr., who'd enjoy a career year.
It's another 4-hit day for Sandy.
You thought you had a ball club that obviously had a chance to play deep into October.
The Tribe built a late spring lead with their eyes on a Division three-peat. The 1997 season was marked by a seminal change in the game.
Baseball breaks its long-standing tradition, its ancient tradition of the two leagues never playing one another, except, of course, the World Series.
The historic occasion featured plenty of pageantry.
And here's the ovation for Willie Mays, who of course, never played here.
Interleague play has certainly injected a lot of life into baseball.
It's going to be this later. No way.
That means we're doing the exact right thing. We're playing the game for our fans, and this is what they want to see.
Mets fans certainly got what they wanted to see in their team's interleague debut, a memorable win in the Bronx.
Strike three call, and Malicki, in his 279th game, gets his first complete game shutout.
Elsewhere in the NL East, the Marlins dominated their interleague competition.
The whole interleague thing obviously was good for us that year.
Struck him out.
We had a team that was really suited for an American League club with veteran guys.
Driven to deep left field.
We had thump.
He hits it deep. He hits it far.
Against some of the AL's top teams.
And the Marlins are in the win column.
Florida went 12-3, tied for the best interleague mark in the majors.
Can you believe it?
While interleague play offered something new, there was one slugger whose own personal interleague experience offered something historic.
He crunches to center. A two-run homer for Mark McGwire.
Mark McGwire hit 34 homers with the Oakland A's, and then after a midseason trade, 24 more in St. Louis as a Cardinal.
Way back in left field. A moonshot. Upward deck job from McGwire.
And there were other National Leaguers enjoying tremendous seasons as well, including a catcher in L.A. setting a new standard for offense at his position. In '97, Piazza eclipsed the incredible benchmarks he'd already set.
What he brought to the game was a different side of it. He brought an offensive side to this game.
I see where that ball was, over his head. I don't believe that.
In '97, Piazza really established himself as the greatest hitting catcher of all time.
This is beyond Vera Campanella. This is beyond Johnny Bench.
A monstrous home run by Piazza.
But despite Piazza's sensational season, it would be Larry Walker who'd win MVP honors, becoming the first National Leaguer since 1959 with 400 total bases.
Larry Walker was one of my favorite players to watch because he did everything good. He hit for average.
And it's going to be yet another hit for Larry Walker.
He hit for power.
Walker's MVP counterpart in the AL often appeared to have the world in his hands. And in '97, Seattle's Ken Griffey Jr. dominated and had fun doing it.
He was like the kid, you know, hat on backwards, a young guy just into the game doing everything.
Including blasting a league-leading 56 homers.
And gone, a two-run homer, Griffey.
He just goes up there and just...
Ken Griffey Jr. How far? Quite far.
Griffey also led the majors in RBIs.
Junior, you could see it, his face would light up, and you'd be like, uh-oh.
Fastball belted deep to right field, upper deck dive, fly away.
And the Mariners boasted another of baseball's brightest young stars as well.
Alex, obviously, when we were teammates in Seattle, he brought great range.
Shallow left center field and triple. Alex Rodriguez leads, makes the catch.
But on top of it, offensively, he would use all parts of the diamond with power.
6-0, Mariner lead.
And as Seattle's high-powered offense led the way,
The Mariners won it.
on the mound, veterans Jeff Facero and Jamie Moyer combined for 33 wins, alongside the team's overpowering ace.
Randy Johnson rings that left uppercut.
Very few guys have years like that where they win 20, strike out over 290.
Randy Johnson with his hat off.
Among the highlights, 19 strikeouts in a game on 2 occasions.
The stretch in the 0-2 pitch on the waist swing, and he's done it.
For Johnson and the Mariners, it was a remarkable season.
Did you ever have a thorn in your side? They were just so good.
The magic number is 0 in 1997. The Mariners are champions of the West.
Everybody has a chance to act like a little boy.
While the Mariners captured the AL West with a surge in late summer, the AL East champion Orioles rolled through the entire season.
Drive to deep left center, it's over. You can book this one to the Orioles.
Alongside Cal Ripken, Roberto Alomar and Brady Anderson had all-star years for Baltimore. And on the mound, ace Mike Mussina headed a formidable pitching staff that owned the American League's second-best ERA.
Blew it right past them.
And closer Randy Myers was sensational, tops in the league with 45 saves. It all added up to the O's leading the AL East wire to wire, en route to a league-best 98 wins on the season.
A mild celebration from Baltimore, their first division championship in 14 years.
We were poised to start what I think we all thought was going to be a dynasty there in Baltimore. We weren't satisfied.
Struck him out.
In New York, the Yankees' first-year closer found his groove after some early season struggles.
I don't think Mariano has ever wavered from the fact that he has a great deal of confidence in himself and the fact that he can serve a very important role.
Struck him out!
Rivera and the Yankees quickly bounced back from their slow start to finish with the second-best record in the American League.
Home run for Tino Martinez.
And that easily secured a wild card spot for the team in the playoffs.
That for a third season in a row clinches a postseason for the New York Yankees.
In the Central, the Indians' offense was bolstered by new acquisition David Justice, who hit 33 homers with 101 RBIs.
Justice comes through again.
Just one piece of evidence the Indians were as strong as ever and postseason bound once again.
Indians win! Indians win!
And they're behaving like a team that has won the Central Division for a third time.
I need another one.
The trade that had brought Justice and Marquise Grissom to Cleveland was also paying dividends in Atlanta, as Kenny Lofton and the Braves finished with baseball's best record and still hungry to do some damage in October.
97, we were, I thought, as determined as ever to get back to the World Series and do what we needed to do.
This is really what we expected. You know, I mean, I can't say that we expected to finish second or third. We expect to be celebrating 3 or 4 times in the postseason.
Though they beat the Braves in 8 of their 12 regular season meetings, the Marlins had fallen behind in the division race after their fast start. Manager Jim Leyland, though, had kept his team's attention on the wild card.
Leyland did a great job as far as keeping us balanced and keeping us focused on winning ball games.
The club is gelled, and all under the leadership of Jim Leyland.
The guys that he knew he needed to stay away from, guys that he could prod and mess with. He was on everything and knew about everyone and personality.
And for the first time in baseball history, there will be seafood on the postseason menu.
Oh! You scored the big run in this one tonight.
In Houston, broadcaster turned manager Larry Dierker had enjoyed a terrific rookie season. And behind the MVP caliber seasons of Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio, Houston grabbed its first division title in 11 years.
The Astrodome is shaking.
In the NL West, the Giants had led the Dodgers through much of the season, but found themselves 2 games back in late September when the rivals met in a critical 2-game series.
The Beat LA chants were echoing all over the ballpark. And we knew it was going to be pretty special. We didn't know how the games were going to turn out, but we knew that if they turned out like we wanted them to, the place was going to go crazy.
Barry Bonds' first inning homer propelled San Francisco to a Game 1 win. And then, in the bottom of the 12th of Game 2, it was catcher Brian Johnson's turn to play hero.
And he hits one high to deep left field and deep.
When Brian Johnson hit the home run, he immortalized himself in Giants history and to all Giants fans.
Worst in 96 to first in 97.
From there, the Giants cruised to the NL West title, earning a chance with 7 other teams for the biggest prize of all, a World Series championship. As the 1997 playoffs got underway in Atlanta, Houston had a problem. As the Astro Bats were easily dispatched by the Braves trio of aces.
Now Biggio hits the comebacker. Nice play by Maddox to get it. Bagwell is against Glavine.
Bouncing ball up
the middle. Blauser to his left has it, throws on to first, and the Atlanta Braves advance to their 6th straight league championship series.
It will be against either the Marlins or the Giants.
And as the other NLDS began, it did so amid debate over how postseason rules dictated where the series would start.
We didn't think it was right that you win your division. You got to go to the wild cards home field for the first 2 games.
They did have a better record, but they changed that next year, where if you have won your division, you automatically get home field advantage the first couple games.
But in Game 1, with the score tied at 1 in the bottom of the 9th, playing at home allowed the Marlins' 21-year-old shortstop to showcase his clutch credentials.
Bases loaded and 2 out now for Renteria.
Edgar Renteria, the entire year, had been one of our best clutch hitters. He had come to the plate so many times and found a way to get the job done.
Little flare, that'll do it. Johnson scores. The Marlins win it 2-1. Their first ever postseason game is a scintillating one.
Game 2 was also a thrilling affair that again came down to the Marlins' last at-bat.
Up the middle, Hamilton comes on. Here comes the runner home. Oh, it hits the mound. The Marlins win. Sheffield scores. The Marlins with 2 wins in the bottom of the 9th inning.
We fought, and we had no regrets, but the Marlins kind of broke our hearts.
And when the series shifted to San Francisco, the Giants weren't able to find a spark at home, and the Marlins finished the job with ease.
The Marlins sweep, and the Braves are next.
We've earned the right to play what I say is the best team in baseball for the last 5 or 6 years. We've earned that right to play them. See what happens.
In the American League, there were compelling matchups as well. The difference in Orioles-Mariners proved to be Mike Mussina.
Mussina strikes out the side.
As Baltimore's ace outpitched Seattle counterpart Randy Johnson twice in a 4-game series win.
Mussina and the Orioles have taken the best that the Mariners had to offer, and the Orioles have taken them in 4 games.
Meanwhile, the other AL Division Series matched the past 2 league champions, the Yankees and Indians, with Joe Torre's club making plans for a new dynasty in the Bronx.
I had said to my players, I don't want to win 1, I want to win 3 straight. We expected to win.
Even though we were playing against the Yankees, we believe that we had an edge. When you have that feeling that you are unbeatable, I think there is no team that really can give you any trouble.
Into left field, at the wall, it is gone. A 3-run home run, and this is indeed a big first inning for the Indians. They lead by 5.
My first thought was you're going to lose Game 1 of the playoffs against a really tough matchup in the Cleveland Indians, and to see our team come back, was a huge lift.
Back, home run to back, and the Yankees have taken the lead to back, and they lead 8-6.
The Yanks climbed all the way back, and then in the 8th called on Mariano Rivera to put the finishing touches on the comeback.
An 8-6 Yankee victory, and some of the Indian players can't believe what hit them.
We got to stay focused, and we got to stay positive and kind of go out with that no-die attitude.
And this series is split 1 game apiece.
And though the Indians won Game 2, they dropped Game 3. And one night later, at the brink of elimination, they were down a run in the 8th with 1 out, when the Yanks' emerging superstar closer was brought in again to complete the job.
With Mariano Rivera on the mound, it looked over.
Mariano Rivera with that high fastball. Fought it off in the fly ball to right. 2 out here in the 8th.
And here's Sandy Alomar stepping to the plate.
That year, and we come so far to lose like that. I just stepped in there visualizing where the ball was going to be, middle way and out. We knew if we take Mariano out of the game, we had a great opportunity to win that game.
The Yankees bring in Ramiro Mendoza. Base hit. There will be Game 5 tomorrow night.
That was an unbelievable moment because we felt like, hey, this is a huge chance for us to win this series.
The Indians have a 4-3 lead. The Yankees are down to their last out.
Into left center field. Celebrate.
Oh, my goodness. This is awesome. This is what it's all about.
After beating the Yankees in the ALDS, Cleveland's hopes in the '97 postseason were soaring.
After the Yankee series,
The Indians have eliminated the New York Yankees.
it was going to be hard for any team to beat us, even though the Baltimore Orioles had a great team.
And at Camden Yards, the Orioles looked to sweep the first 2 games of the ALCS.
The Orioles won 3-0 last night, lead 4-2 tonight.
But Cleveland's confidence grew after Baltimore made a pitching change.
Armando Benitez here in the 8th.
He just rears back and fires.
He was tipping his pitches in such a way that we all knew it.
Have 2 on, 2 out.
We may be able to take advantage of this.
And the number 9 hitter, Marquise Grissom. Notoriously a dangerous hitter in October. The Indians have their chance here in the 8th.
A swing and a high fly ball center field. Brady Anderson on the run at the track. It's a gunner! A gunner! A 3-run homer from Marquise Grissom.
An inning later, Grissom and the Indians had evened the series. But when play resumed in Cleveland for Game 3, action off the bats was nowhere to be seen.
Baltimore nothing, Cleveland nothing.
Certainly not with Mike Mussina in absolutely vintage form.
Strikeout number 13 from Mike Mussina.
He's got it all going on tonight.
Well, I'll say.
Swing and a miss, struck him out.
That is 15 strikeouts for Mussina, an LCS record.
He was a fun pitcher to watch, and at that particular time, we were on the edge of our seats.
I pitched really well.
15 strikeouts.
We just couldn't get a lead.
That was because Baltimore was being stymied by a bulldog.
He's a big game pitcher. 8-1, his record in postseason. Strike 3 call. 7 strikeouts for Earl Hershiser. Baltimore nothing, Cleveland nothing.
Both starters were brilliant, but both were gone by the time the game went into extra innings.
1-1, bottom of the 12th.
And with 1 out in the 12th, Grissom was at third against Baltimore closer Randy Myers, which left it to Omar Vizquel.
Vizquel a chance to win Game 3. Here comes Grissom. And safe at the plate, Indians win. Vizquel missed it.
Davey Johnson is arguing the pitch was fouled.
Everybody was caught off guard, like, what the heck just happened?
The run counts. The Indians win and go up 2-1 in the series.
We won that game, and I think that was the biggest turnaround in the series.
Game 4 brought more stomach-turning tension.
7-7 our score in the bottom of the 9th inning.
Winning run at second base, Manny Ramirez 2 out.
And Armando Benitez on the mound again, trying to preserve the tie.
And Sandy Alomar tries to end Game 4. Into left center field. Indians win. A victory for the Indians in Game 4 and a 3-1 lead for Cleveland in the 1997 ALCS.
The Orioles managed to win Game 5, which sent the series back to Baltimore.
This ALCS has been like a good heavyweight fight.
And in Game 6, Mike Mussina's right hook was again overpowering, allowing just 1 hit, striking out 10 over 8 shutout innings.
Inning over.
But for the second straight start, Mussina could do no better than a draw.
But the 2 games I pitched, the other guy pitched well too.
This time, it was Charles Nagy matching him for substance, if not style.
I always had runners on base, and Mike didn't. So I felt like it was a little tougher on me.
The Orioles have 9 hits. The Indians won.
But with Nagy working out of trouble, neither team had a run.
Third baseman Williams out at second, out at first.
We're going to the 11th inning. Indians nothing, the Orioles nothing. Tony Fernandez comes to bat.
Facing Armando Benitez, 2 out, nobody on.
Fernandez hits a drive. Deep right field.
Track, wall, goal.
A home run for Tony Fernandez.
And the Indians take a 1-0 11th inning lead.
What a series we've had.
It's Jose Mesa with a 1-run lead.
And the Indians are trying to close out this league championship series.
Strike 3.
opponents would be the victors of an NLCS featuring a longtime league powerhouse and a wild card upstart. The teams split the first two contests, and then in Game 3, the Braves looked to Smoltz to gain them an edge.
John Smoltz, Cy Young Award winner a year ago.
We had the lead going into the 6th inning.
We got a 2-1 ball game. Braves on top.
Andrew Jones was playing right field. I remember a play in right field. It was kind of a tough play.
And this ball is ripped to right, but Andrew Jones misplays it.
Andrew Jones blew the play. Tie ball game at 2. And what should have been the 3rd out becomes a double.
We just didn't execute when we needed to.
And Smoltz still needed to get out of the 6th.
Bases are loaded.
But the matchup favored him decidedly.
I scuffle against Smoltz. I tell you what, I can't hit him for nothing.
Coming into this at-bat, Charles Johnson is 0 for 15 lifetime with 11 strikeouts against Smoltz, including 2 tonight.
That's how overmatched he's been.
In the air to left center field and very well hit. Crespo's diving attempt. It's to no avail. 3 runs will score.
The Marlins are on top. 5-2. How do you like that?
22-year-old rookie Livan Hernandez picked up the victory in relief. And Florida was halfway to its first ever World Series.
And the Florida Marlins win it 5-2, and they take a 2-game-1 lead in the National League Championship Series.
As Game 4 of the 1997 NLCS began, Atlanta was down 2-1. But southpaw Denny Nagel, the team's 4th starter and lone 20-game winner, swung the momentum back to the Braves.
Ball strike 3. The 7th strikeout for Nagel, an appropriate way to end it. 4-0 Atlanta. The series even at 2 games apiece.
And for Game 5, the next Brave to take the mound was a 4-time Cy Young Award winner.
19-4 for the year, a .220 earned run average, Greg Maddux.
The Marlins rotation, meanwhile, was decimated, with ace Kevin Brown ill, and the team's number 2 starter also sidelined.
Alex Fernandez, torn right rotator cuff. He is obviously out for the rest of the postseason.
And so Florida handed the ball to their precocious rookie, who'd come a long way to enter the postseason spotlight.
And Livan Hernandez will be doing the pitching.
Having risked his life to flee his native Cuba in 1995, his courage on and off the field gave fans confidence that he would prevail in his first postseason start. But alarmingly, Hernandez began Game 5 by promptly putting 2 runners on.
And Chipper Jones will come up with runners at 1st and 3rd.
I can remember going to Livan and telling him, hey,
fastball here for the called strike 2.
We ain't throwing nothing inside, just stay away because the zones are very big out there.
Even with a large strike zone, Hernandez still needed control of his breaking ball to get out of trouble.
Struck him out.
Suddenly, Livan had found his groove.
Swing and a miss and a breaking ball, strike 3.
Can Livan Hernandez get out of it? Yes, he can. He fans the heart of the order.
He eventually settled in and masterfully worked through the rest of the game.
There's his 14th strikeout, tying the National League Championship Series record. Hernandez is an out away from going the distance, but if he's to finish it now, he'll have to do it against one of the most dangerous late-inning hitters of the past decade, Fred McGriff. The 3-2 pitch. Got him! Eric Gregg punches him out.
It looked like it was outside.
For him to go out and do what he did,
15 strikeouts.
it definitely was a lift and a boost for the whole team.
The adrenaline from Hernandez's win continued to surge in Game 6, with the Marlins holding a 3-2 series lead and a healthy Kevin Brown overmatching the Braves.
He has not had a ball above the belt in the last 4 innings.
Got him looking.
Jimmy Leland going the distance with Brown, 1 out away.
Hit hard by Brown, scooped up by Counsell to Renteria, and it's over.
Brown's win sent the Marlins to the World Series and the Braves to ponder what could have been.
I still maintain that we had that series won, but the Marlins went on to, a much better season than we did.
So in the Fall Classic, it would be Florida, a franchise in just its 5th season of existence, against Cleveland, which hadn't won a title since 1948.
I think I said at one point, there are people in Cleveland who have been waiting for this for half a century. And there are people in Florida who've been waiting for this since Thursday.
In Game 1, Inexperience didn't faze the Marlins NLCS MVP. He picked up right where he'd left off.
His second strikeout of the inning. And the fans reacting in anticipation of Hernandez striking out the side, which he does.
Behind Hernandez and 2 homers, the Marlins grabbed the series opener.
Marlins 1-0. We're going all the way.
But the next night, the Indians were unfazed. And by the 6th inning, the ball wasn't doing what Kevin Brown wanted it to.
He's trailing 4-1, and he hasn't had anything close to his usual mastery.
Sandy Alomar at the plate. It would give them a tremendous lift to beat Brown.
Here's a rocket to left, and this one's not coming back.
And it is 6-1 Cleveland.
And a few innings later, a World Series knotted at 1.
All right, there we go.
The series was now headed to Cleveland, where very different conditions awaited.
We were playing like in this really, really cold weather in Cleveland. So it was a completely different World Series for everybody. You didn't know what to expect.
Game 3 wasn't a whole lot of fun.
Bounce 2 lighter. He backs up to snare it and then drops it.
I was part of this seesaw affair of crooked numbers.
Home run by Jim Tomei. It is 7-3 Cleveland.
7 up. Gary Sheffield ties the game.
The 9th inning featured I don't know how many runs.
The Marlins got 7 in the top half.
Artistically, this starting to resemble a fat man's picnic.
And when the fat lady finally sung, the Marlins led the series.
Florida beat Cleveland 14-11.
Thank God we got past that one.
The next night brought more offensive fireworks amid more frigid temperatures.
This is baseball by Courier and Ives.
At 35 degrees, the coldest game in World Series history, with players left to keep warm by any means necessary.
He's not exactly styling, but I think warmth rather than fashion is the number one concern here.
Here comes Santa Claus.
The drive to right field. Back goes Sheffield.
Sheffield to the wall. Goodbye. Forget about the socks. It's the way he socked that baseball that matters.
Cleveland rolled in Game 4, tying the series at 2.
The final score, the Indians 10 and the Marlins 3.
The 1997 World Series was headed for a classic finish.
Oral Hershiser against Livan Hernandez for Game 5 of the 1997 World Series.
The series was tied, and here we have a kid from Cuba that had just come over from, basically came over on a boat and facing Oral Hershiser, one of the best competitors to ever toe that mound.
And Game 5 evolved as might have been predicted, with the former World Series MVP Hershiser gaining traction, and the Cuban rookie Hernandez appearing to finally wilt in the spotlight.
Way back, it's gone. 4-2 Indians, bottom of the 3rd.
But then, just as quickly, Hernandez found a way to settle down.
A little different. Livan Hernandez going into the dugout this time. He's got to come out throwing strikes and shut the Indians down, or else he's going to be gone very quickly.
He pitched well beyond his years, both as a baseball player and as a human being.
Hit back to him. To second for 1. Renteria to first. And a double play.
He bent, but he never broke, and Livan did what he did best. He kept us off balance.
And in the 6th, Hershiser began to unravel.
Moises Alou wallops a 3-run homer off Hershiser. 5-4 Florida.
And with Hernandez pitching into the 9th, the Indians found themselves one game from the abyss.
Game 5 in Cleveland was a pivotal game that we lost there with a chance to go down to Florida 3-2 lead, and we had our work cut out. The matchup going into Game 6 was Chad O.J. and Kevin Brown. I remember Chad going out and he said, hey, we'll be just fine.
Against the Marlins ace, the Indians needed O.J.'s very best on the mound. But it was in the batter's box where he offered the biggest surprise, particularly after just 7 plate appearances all season.
And he lines the ball into right field for a base hit. 1-run home. Second man being waved in.
And it is 2-0 in favor of Cleveland.
With 2 hits, 2 RBIs, and a run scored, and only 1 run allowed over 5 innings, O.J.'s fingerprints were all over Cleveland's biggest win of the season.
And the Indians are very much alive. We are going for a 7th game.
Fame, money, all that stuff is all nice. But ultimately, it's about the competition and being the person in that situation in Game 7 of the World Series.
It doesn't get any more compelling in our sport than a Game 7.
And Fernandez with a liner into center for a base hit. It's 2-0 Cleveland.
Right, he's pitched a great game on 3 days rest.
And he strikes Sheffield out.
Marlins only down 2-0 in this game.
And a called strike 3. Liner struck out the side. Bobby Bonilla launches one to deep right. Bonilla sends one out of here. And it's a 2-1 game.
Heading into the bottom of the ninth, the Marlins still trailed by a run, while the Indians stood on the precipice of history.
3 outs for all the people who have waited since 1948 for the Indians to be world champions.
In the 9th inning, my owner and I were called to come down for the potential trophy presentation. I'm very superstitious. I was sitting in one seat. I didn't want to get up.
A line drive over short. It falls softly in there for a leadoff hit.
So I immediately thought I was going to jinx the club.
A line drive to right that drops for a hit. Alua's on his way to third.
I no sooner got down there than I was watching the monitor, and
A deep drive to right. Ramirez on the run. Makes the catch. Tagging is Alou. Game 7 of the World Series is tied.
It's not always the superstar guy. There's moments when you need the Craig Counsels, and boy, do we need him.
Craig Counsell, a guy who hoped to simply make it to the major leagues, pushes this game into extra innings.
And in the 11th, with 2 out, Counsell was 90 feet away from home plate, representing the winning run, when Edgar Renteria stepped up.
5 times this year in extra innings, Edgar Renteria drove in the winning run.
Yeah, I was out of the game at that point, and I could barely stand to watch. I was so nervous. Be able to call yourself a World Series champion is, you know, not many guys can say that.
The Marlins' second World Series title would come 6 years later in 2003.
And the Florida Marlins are world champions, winning in 6 games over the Yankees.
And in similar fashion, the 03 club took the title by virtue of the National League wild card.
And the Florida Marlins, who to this day have never finished first in any season, have their 2 world championships. And the Cleveland Indians are still waiting since 1948.
The New York Yankees have once again reached the summit of the sports world.
By contrast, following their 97 playoff loss, a new Yankee dynasty arose with wins in 3 straight World Series.
The celebration begins. The team of the 20th century.
With interleague play and wild card champions, the 1997 season showed some things in baseball do change, while others, like the thrill of the 7th game of a World Series, always stay the same.